A family's on the floor in front of the TV, laughing and playing. It's a happy, good, loving energy. Then the adults start arguing about something and end up angry and fighting. Even a preverbal baby will notice and react to this change in energy. It's no longer a good and loving energy. Somehow they've moved to its opposite, bad and hateful. Let's look at these two energies more closely. The good energy on the left is of togetherness and cooperation. The bad energy on the right is of separateness and competition. The energy on the left is what we expect from family and friends. The energy on the right is what we expect from enemies and hope not to get from family or the strangers we meet. What are some things we do for others if we want to express or communicate the good energy to them? If someone's hurt, troubled, or in need, we express the good energy on the left by showing up and being present for them. How would you feel if you were in the hospital for a couple weeks and no one came and visited you, or on the side of the road and no friends came to help? We express the good energy on the left by listening. How do you feel when someone ignores you? Honesty and faithfulness go on the good side. Their opposites, dishonesty and unfaithfulness, go on the bad side. Courteous and respectful go on the good side. Their opposites, discourteous and disrespectful, go on the bad side. Let's refer to the nurturing energy on the left as approval and acceptance. Let's refer to the destructive energy on the right as disapproval and rejection. As justification for our actions, the following 4 steps happen in a split second at a subconscious level. We have to approve of something before we can accept it. Then we praise and reward by doing the actions on the good side. We have to disapprove of something before we can reject it. Then we blame and punish by doing the actions on the bad side. Whether you like or dislike something, both are states of attachment. When you mention attachment, most people think it is only things we want or desire. But attachment is equally things that we dislike or avoid. Avoidance or dislike of something can have a stronger hold on us than things we desire sometimes. If you like something, you will approach it. If you dislike something, you will avoid it. One is desire, the other is aversion. These are the only 2 possible motivational states of attachment that exist. None of this occurs unless mind first judges. The middle ground, neutrality, is not a true motivational state, for it's not motivated. It has not judged and does not judge. It has assigned no values to the object or event. It can take it or leave it, like a child. We will call this the tablet. During the last 20 years, I've asked almost 2,000 people to write down 10 unhappy moments from their life. This is what I've shared with them all once I had their list in my hand. Write down 10 unhappy moments from your life, just 1 sentence about each. It's very important to write down the first time you remember being in a negative emotion. In other words, if someone had noticed you were upset and asked you why, you would have said, "I'm angry, sad, frustrated, jealous, because this happened or that happened, because he said this or she said that," right? Pause the video here until you have your list. During the following, there will also be a few other places where you should pause the video. Now, about your list of unhappy moments. Are they moments like these? Each time I mention one, find the term that matches it, pausing if you need to do so. Somebody lied to me. Somebody cheated on me. I broke up with. I got divorced. I was disrespected. Mom and Dad fought. A grown-up hurt me. A friend hurt me. Dad hurt me. Mom hurt me. They wouldn't listen to me. They didn't appreciate me. They didn't care. They didn't love me. They didn't help me. Those were all really quick and easy to see. Other moments need a phrase or 2 sometimes. A loved one died. When we lose a loved one, whether it be human or animal, we've lost a source of nurturing, approval, acceptance energy in our lives, or we wouldn't have grieved. My parent was a drunk or crackhead or prostitute or criminal or workaholic or just plain absent. In these cases, it comes down to their not being there for us, not being a source of protective, approval, acceptance energy in our lives. I hurt someone. I lied. I cheated. In these cases, we were a source of disapproving, rejecting energy. I got arrested, kicked out, thrown out, expelled, flunked, dropped out. I lost the win, the trophy, the game, the opportunity. Winners get acceptance and approval. Losers get disapproval and rejection. In these cases, we were frustrated in our strategy to attain acceptance and approval. I wrecked or lost my car or driver's license. I lost my job, business, money, or house. I got injured. My health got bad. In these cases, we've lost the ability to continue with our strategies to seek approval and acceptance. I couldn't protect someone. I wasn't there for them. I dropped the ball, made a mistake, left a friend when they needed me. My friend or relative was doing this or that and got into trouble. If we've ever failed to be there for someone, we've failed to be a source of protective, nurturing, approval, acceptance energy for them at that time. In my opinion, the next 30 seconds is the most important of our time together, the most important of your entire life. And 30 seconds that would change the future of humanity if enough people would do it. Shut your eyes, scan your entire life memory, and try and find an unhappy moment not related to the dance of attachment between these two energies. In other words, try and find a moment when you were in the grip of a negative emotion that doesn't involve either of these two energies. You're right. You can't find a single moment of suffering that wasn't caused by this attachment, can you? In the past, while working with someone, it may have taken some dialogue to help them through the logic chain of it, but I have never had a single person find an unhappy moment not related to this attachment. Now scan again and see that all of your happy moments were from the same attachment. Tell me, what does it feel like to have complete approval and acceptance? Most say they don't know. Those that have felt it said it never lasted. If it did last, it was always from either grandma or a dog. As an experiment, ask 100 people this question. Did you know every unhappy moment you've ever had was because you needed people's approval? What do you think they'll all say? Your guess is absolutely right. They don't have a clue and will deny it. Yet everyone that writes down their unhappy moments sees the very same thing. So, you've established from the direct evidence of your own life that you've spent a lot of energy seeking approval and acceptance and avoiding disapproval and rejection. You didn't know you were doing it. It caused you to do all manner of things. You never really attained approval acceptance. Attachment to it caused all your suffering. Nobody else knows it either. It's causing them to do all manner of things. No one will believe you if you tell them, unless they see it this way, as you just did. Jesus and Buddha both addressed suffering and its cause. Jesus said they suffer for lack of knowledge, and forgive them, for they know not what they do. Buddha said that suffering comes from subconscious attachment that we are not aware of in the first phase of life, and an improper understanding of cause and effect. From the direct experience of your own life, you are now a living source of this great truth. Whenever you suffered in the past, you've sought refuge in friends, family, and society as an antidote to your aloneness. What did they agree was the cause of your unhappiness whenever you mentioned it? In accepting their answers, you suffered for lack of knowledge. You suffered because neither you or them knew the true cause of your suffering. Knowledge means direct experience, not what another told you. When we know something from direct experience, we are then a living source of knowledge. When we know something because someone else told us so, we are the source of nothing, and instead merely repeat their view. But this is a turning of the wheel, so we must go closer to first cause. Here's how it happened. The trauma split and creation of the fear body. When we were babies, we could urinate and defecate and vomit, and instead of being rejected for it, they would just clean us up. This was unconditional acceptance. Babies haven't had the protective drive activate yet. That's the period when we'll stick anything in our mouth and walk off a ledge without even knowing it. If you yell no at us, it doesn't even register. Then one day, around the time the protective reptilian drive activates, we're about to stick something dangerous in our mouth or walk off a balcony. As babies tend to do, we're doing it with the entire glorious, divine, and perfect fullness of our being. Then someone shouts, "No!" But this time it finally registered, so we jumped, startled, and were split right there, and turned away from our beingness, our okayness. The fear body that was just split away and created by rejection trauma asks, "What?" That emotional fear body is then told by everyone in its environment that it is not okay as it is. We are told that to be okay, we have to wash our hands, clean up our plate, say yes sir, no sir, thank you, do the chores, get good grades, go to college, become a soldier, get a job, start a family. We were split emotionally with the trauma of threatened rejection, abandonment, and discipline, and the trauma part is then programmed mentally with shoulds and should nots, carrots and sticks. What would have happened to us if we'd listened to all of that and said, "No, I feel okay already"? The tribe wouldn't have protected us. So we had to agree at a subconscious level to all of the values and rituals so we wouldn't have to think about them. Someone says, "Thank you." We say, "You're welcome." But it's not authentic. It's reflex, programming. We think it's who we are, but it's really just a bundle of subconscious habit patterns, programmed by trauma with the shifting and contradictory values of the tribe. Tighter and tighter we turn the wheel, closer and closer to first cause. Here's the core of the trauma, the universal fear. What's the universal fear of children before they can even speak? Being abandoned or separated from its parents. A baby will die in days if it is not touched and held. Have you ever seen the look on the face of a 2-year-old in a crowded place when it looks around and can't see its parent? Or when the parents put on a costume mask? That's a pre-verbal fear, something we were afraid of before we could speak. If a child's pre-verbal, pre-logical, pre-rational, pre-egoic, pre-temporal dominant fear is abandonment, The dominant egoic adult need will become a search for its antidote at a subconscious level. For so long as this is subconscious, there will be a tension between the adult's rational and logical idea of themselves and the reality of the irrational and illogical subconscious motivational structure of a child within. The antidote to the universal fear, the programming of the trauma fear body. The antidote to abandonment is the energy of togetherness, approval, acceptance, which has to come from the decisions and actions of another. What's our strategy for getting approval and acceptance? What do you have to know about someone if you want to fit in or get them to like you? You have to know their likes and dislikes, their values, mores, and ideals. These are communicated clearly whenever we hear or say the words should and should not. Next is the pursuit of stuff, status, and style, which you could only know if you keep track of shoulds and should nots. Stuff is nicer clothes, jewelry, a bigger house, or a fancier car. There's a child on this side of the road with a yard full of rusty old toys, and a child on the other side with shiny new toys. Which one has the most friends? Status is what others think about us, our rep. If we want to be accepted as this or that, we have to have the status that goes along with this or that. Style means knowing what's in fashion at the time: long hair, short hair, bell-bottoms, or straight-legged. Whenever this strategy fails us because it's at a subconscious level, what do we then experience? Negative emotions. We will call this the template. At a subconscious level, its programming causes us to be unable to self-manufacture a felt sense of okayness. A family moves to a new neighborhood. The child goes outside to make new friends. The other kids make mean noises and run away. The following thought chain happens in a flash at a mostly subconscious level. The child thinks, they don't like me. Then the question arises, why don't they like me? Then the mind answers its own question. There must be something wrong with me. My color, my weight, my clothes, my shoes. What is it? What's wrong with me? Why am I not okay? If they don't like me, I must not be okay. At this point, the child has subconsciously lost the ability to self-manufacture a felt sense of just being okay. Okayness depends on the performance and actions of others. It leaves us utterly and totally manipulatable. How's that template worked out for you so far? Do you want a different way to live? Then we have to talk about how the mind works. Today you put away childish ways, and the sleeper begins to awaken. The mind is like a lot of filing cabinets, and inside the drawers we've stored our ideas of things, the values we were programmed to project on them when we see or hear them. The drawer opens upon being triggered by what is seen or heard, and out sprays the value assignment upon the stimulus. Then we react to what we've been tricked into creating. On the floor right there, I can put some chocolate, a gun, some adult magazines, and a guitar. We can march 1,000,000 people through this room. Then their eyes will notice those things. Then the mind will, according to its programming, project a value label upon them as good or bad, say yummy and move toward them, or icky and pull away. If every single human died and the human race was gone, and there was no one left to look at those things and label them good or bad, forever, are those objects good or bad? If there's no one here to shout good or bad at them, what are they? Absent our human labels and their values, do they still exist? What is it that they exist as? Isness? Everything will dissolve eventually and be used by the universe. The insects will eat the chocolate, the gun, the adult magazines, and the guitar will dissolve and rust away into the soil to become grass or a tree. The universe values every bit of it and wastes nothing. It's all good. Who are you? absent all labels of good or bad. You have a neutral isness also. Christianity calls it the Holy Ghost, and Buddhism calls it your Buddha nature. It, too, is all good. The mind, then, can be tricked into seeing, creating, projecting good, and then condemning it or worshiping it. It can be tricked into seeing, creating, projecting bad, and then condemning or worshiping it as well. It can even be programmed into thinking the same thing to be both good and bad. Part of you likes chocolate. The part that wants to lose weight thinks chocolate is bad. Part of you thinks laying in bed at night is a good time to think about your life. The rest of you wishes it would shut up so you can go to sleep. Have you ever ended a relationship and thought, what the heck was I thinking? That was projection dropping away. Did you ever want something really bad, then as soon as you have it, you don't even care about it anymore? That was projection dropping away. Did you ever expect something, but then you get the opposite? That was projection dropping away. A spell the mind can fall for that makes an ugly thing beautiful, a beautiful thing ugly, or a neutral thing to go either way. Said another way, the mind can be tricked into making a true thing false, a false thing true, or a neutral thing to go either way. The blob. A person's like a blob stretched upon a ladder. Most of the time our responses to life come from the highest portion of who we are. But there's still the lower portion of who we are, with its less than mature strategies and responses. Most of the time our lower acts out, and then our higher apologizes for it. I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. I wasn't my usual self. I wasn't in my right mind. I wish I could stop doing that. I didn't mean to say or do that. I didn't say or do what I meant to say or do. Did I really say or do that? This occurs because without special training, our maturing ego as it emerges during life is unable to take the new awareness values and adjust the faulty memories from the past. They remain static and subconscious motivating factors in our behavior. If it feels like we're lugging some bricks around, or that we're trapped in a pattern or a tension, this is where the feeling comes from. It is the tension between the views of the mature you and the views of the immature you within. A new conscious awareness does not easily wash through and adjust previous memories or value assignments held in the subconscious. Here's an example to show that this is so. The black dog. We're at the park, picnic tables are everywhere, and people are barbecuing. A stray black dog comes up to our table, so we feed it and pet it. I nudge you and say, hey look, they're freaking out. Someone's up on the table next to us with a barbecue fork, scared to death of this stray dog. They're honestly frightened and feel like they have to protect themselves. They must have a phobia or something. We realize they have issues, so we send the friendly stray dog away before it gets hurt. Later, if someone asks them, what will they say? Did they have a good time or a bad time at the park? So, lodged in their memory is the time a black dog threatened them at the park. Some time later, as is normal when we grow, they have an epiphany, an aha moment. Not all dogs are dangerous. A few years later, I see that person at the park near a stray dog and point them out to you. Hey, isn't that? Yes, you say. Looks like they got over it. They did get over it, partly. They're not freaking out, but they aren't petting it either. The problem with the way our brains work is that the new higher understanding does not go back and update related memories from the past. They remain subconscious motivating factors. I meet that person years later and say, hey, write down 10 unhappy moments from your life. Right there on the page is the time a black dog attacked them at the park. You and I were both there. We know their memory's faulty. Why didn't their epiphany awareness go back and correct such a faulty memory? How do we take this new, higher understanding we've attained today and grow up the old faulty memories? That's what we're going to do next. In all of our past moments, we've realized that what we thought was happening was not really what was happening. We have a more proper understanding of cause and effect now. So in a bit, we're going to re-examine each of your 10 unhappy moments. seen through this new higher understanding and awareness. This new awareness is based on the following truths. It wasn't personal. We thought everything was personal, but it really wasn't. Have you ever heard it said that when there are two people talking, there are really six people there? There's my idea of who I am, there's who I really am, and then there's your idea of me. There's your idea of who you are, there's who you really are, and then there's my idea of you. Conflict comes from disagreement on these ideas, whether within ourselves at a subconscious level or between each other. As soon as you say something that doesn't match my idea of who I want you to think of me as, I'll leap up to bat it down or defend it. How can any interaction be personal if we're doing this? We may have taken it personal, and it felt personal, but whoever did that to you probably did the same thing to many others as well, because they, just like you and I before realizing this, were just robotically following the dictates of the template without even knowing it. When we're upset at someone, it's usually because we had an idea of who they are, and so we base an expectation of how they're going to behave upon our idea of who they are. And then they act different than our expectation, different than our idea of who they are, and we feel upset. Or we're upset because we had an idea of what a certain system is, and so base an expectation of how that system is going to treat us, upon the idea we've been given of what the system is. And then when the system treats us differently than we expected of it, different than our idea of what we thought it was all about, we feel betrayed. Aren't we in both cases upset at reality? Doesn't that mean our idea of them was wrong? Don't they also have an idea of who you are as well that's equally just as wrong? I can ask that person from your life who you think knows you the best, the most personally, and let them talk for hours about who you are, but in the end all I'll get from them is their idea of who you are. If you were to have listened to it all, you'd know all the ways in which they were off base about you, fudged over this or that, exaggerated this or that, failed to mention or apparently didn't know about this or that either. If they haven't seen the tablet and template, they don't even know why they suffer or why they do anything they do, so how can they understand you? So when have you ever had a personal relationship? You have never had a personal relationship. If you or them were lost at a subconscious level in attachment to approval and acceptance as the antidote to a preverbal subconscious childhood abandonment fear. So then none of it was personal, right? Say it. None of it was personal. We were always okay. We thought we weren't okay, but really we were. There was never really anything wrong with us. The older people in our environment were already really messed up, and we got lost at a subconscious level in their way of doing things. So you were always okay. There was never anything wrong with you. Say it. There was never anything wrong with me. I was always okay. You were always doing the best you could. At any given moment, the actions and energetic expression of a person are the sum total of everything within them operating at the level of efficiency possible at that given moment. That is the reality of it. If someone says they're not going to do something and then they do it, or if someone says they're going to do something but they don't, that's the reality of who and what they truly were capable of at that given moment, irregardless of what they or we think their ideal self should be or should have been able to live as. We are always doing the best we can. Put woulda, shoulda, coulda aside. Put your idea of yourself aside. You were always at each and every single moment who you were at the moment. Anything else is a false idol, an image or idea of something or someone that's not the real thing or person. You were always doing the best you could. Say it. I was always doing the best I could. Everybody was doing the best they can. If someone does not know what you've realized today, they're lost, split, divided, programmed, suffering and don't know why, doing things and don't know why, just like you were. All those people from your past were doing the best they could as well, blindly following the dictates of the tablet and template. Forgive them, for they still know not what they do. Say it. They know not what they do. They were doing the best they could. I forgive them. In a moment, we're going to access those memories in a very safe way. First, let me explain what we're going to do so that you act from understanding. As soon as the memory arises, either we can see ourselves over there in the memory, or we cannot. If you can see yourself over there, let all you've realized today from this highest view wash over and be absorbed by that you over there in the memory. If you cannot see yourself over there, allow a you that is aware of all of this to float over there and appear in the memory. This integrates the learning so that awareness is equal. You'll feel or know it once that's happened and the memory has shifted its energy. Then do what is comfortable. Dissolve that you out of the memory or leave it there. Generally, if there was a you there to begin with, dissolve that you away once it's shifted. If there wasn't one there, leave it there when done. Either way, so we can use the energy that had been caught there somewhere else now. Shrink the memory down till it's real small, and then clap your hands to make it dissolve away. To recap, we identify with what we were disidentified from, and disidentify from what we were identified with. This integrates the awareness, as this older, wiser you collaborates with the younger you, so that they share the same view. We release the unnecessary negative energy within the memory, so that the energy can be transmuted to positive and used somewhere else. It's best not to start with your very worst memories or your very earliest. Pick a safer one, save the others till last, and let's begin. Shut your eyes and pull up a memory. Put a frame around it and make it slightly smaller so we can work with it. Can you see yourself over in the memory or not? Let this new awareness wash over and be received by the you over there, or let a you that has this awareness float over to appear there. There was never anything wrong with you. You were always doing the best you could. It was never personal. Everyone else is pretty messed up and doing the best they could as well, and you were always okay. Once you feel it shift, either dissolve that you out of the memory or leave it there, whichever feels the most comfortable. Then, shrink it down till it's really small, and when you're ready, clap your hands so it splits apart and drifts away. Replay this section over and over till you have worked through your list. This is the tough part. Listening to me was easy. This is where it gets tough sometimes, I know. When you're done, shut your eyes and give an inner permission for what was done to these moments to spread through all of your other related memory moments over the next few days. You don't have to pay any attention to it. It can happen in the background while doing other things, but it can especially happen while you sleep. Some of our dreams are when our discordant layers try to communicate and agree on their view. They do this using symbols within what you call dreams. So you will in most cases have flickering dreams for a couple of nights as this awareness is integrated. You must have natural, healthy sleep. If you toss and turn, then toss and turn. You released and transmuted some true energies today, and they'll need to integrate over a period of time. If you feel like or think you're about to have an experience of some kind, allow it to happen. Whatever's been buried must resurface, and the integration of it will be a spiritual experience, or series of them, for many of you. In case you did not truly do the work this first time through, but instead just listened, I have more to say. There is high talk and faith in it, the study of religious or spiritual teachings, or listening to the words of a teacher, instruction in the view. There's being or source energy within us, and works, techniques, exercises, practices, and disciplines that expose it. Both talk and works are important. Both are necessary, but the two must move in tandem like the rungs up a ladder. Jesus said faith without works is death. Talk, study, and faith can get out of whack with our level of being, and it needs to be shocked with works, or we get soul weary, because the high portion of our blob on the ladder has a high view or faith in it, but the low portion of who we are doesn't share it. We talk it, but don't live it. You can't put new wine in an old wineskin. Likewise, discordance appears when our level of being shifts upward, but there is no view or anyone to give it to us that accurately explains what we're going through. Most often as we fall upward and evolve, those around us will tell us we're broken and have fallen down instead. I am both the voice that delivers instruction in the view and the technician with actual works and approaches that unify our split mind, then expose our core beingness, then shift our sense of I-ness towards living from that found within, then to continue the dissolution of the veil's remnants until, as the last bit of ego transmutes, and that which was discovered within merges with that without. Christianity calls the ego the Son, that within the Holy Ghost, and that without the Father. One who has the Holy Ghost has the Father, and one who has the Father has the Holy Ghost. Buddhism calls the ego mind, that within Atman, and that without Brahman. Atman equals Brahman. Brahman equals Atman. These are not sayings. These are statements of reality regarding experiences you're here to go through, awarenesses you're here to attain, and thus become living sources of this divine logos from the knowledge of direct experience. Everything you have ever read about in all the great books, and its inverse seen as pathology, as either spiritual crisis or mental disorders, I help to initiate and or guide people through as they work their way up the ladder. At one time I was a human being. Then I was a human being having spiritual experiences. Then I became a spiritual being, climbing a staircase and having human experiences. Then I became a blended being helping others up the steps of the staircase beneath the last rungs I was on. Then I became the space within which both the staircase and the climber was supported. Now I am the climber, staircase, and the space. I have sifted through life meeting all comers who have been drawn or felt sent to me for energy to be transmuted within them. I've helped them through the process of discovering everything hidden within them, and then reinforcing the truth of what is seen without from the viewpoint of the truth that is found within. We are good inside. There is something within us, though, like a chink in our armor, that this video is intended to address. Setting one-on-one with you, this was a conversation, and I have a gift for eliciting most of this from you. Near the end of it, I would point out that it seems like you told me most of this. It feels like we collaborated on discovering these truths within you and your life. Setting one-on-one, each of these points is covered and worked through in a graceful and elegant way. Like a feedback loop is created between us, and explanations of these points come out configured just as you need to hear them, said in a way that you can receive them. Said just for you, the way you need it, and I don't quit, ever, till you get it, point by point. But to try and share this with all of you in this frozen, static way, as a monologue to an unseen audience is very difficult. I'm sorry if it feels a bit heavy-handed. It puts more of the work on you and increases the effort you must put forth. Write down the 10 unhappiest moments of your life, just one little sentence about each. I know for some of you this will be hard, either because you've done something with the pain and don't know it's there, so you'll deny it, or because you know the pain is there and it scares you. If you can only think of a few unhappy moments, put them down. Also write down a couple happy moments till you have 10. As you saw, we don't look at it in a scary way. This approach we're taking creates a safe space within which we can look at our most severe trauma or guilt. So write them down, one little sentence about each. It helps either to start with the first unhappy moment remembered and then come forward, or to start now and go backward. Either way, as soon as you start, it will become easier. Don't fall into it. Just label it and move on. It's very important to try and remember the very first time you were upset or disturbed or scared or unhappy. Later, as you replay the video and your subconscious realizes we're going somewhere safe, it's common for some memories to pop up and surface, so just pause the video and add them to the list. For many, just trying to let the list emerge and write it down is an interesting experience in itself. This is trauma. This is being abused, either physically or emotionally, or being raped or molested. This is abusing others, either physically or emotionally, or by raping or molesting. This is horrible conflict, separation, divorce, loss of loved ones, abandonment and heartache. This is murder, suicide, addiction and destruction. This is betrayal, treachery, injustices, failures, guilt, and sin. If we were sitting together, I would say to put all of that pain, shame, guilt, and sin on the page and hand it to me. If I have the resources and am able to do so, I'll try and create a forum, group, or webinar of some kind where I can be more involved in helping you or others. Until then, this, I hope, will do. Just write down your 10 unhappiest moments in private, all by yourself. Listen to the video again, pausing at the right places, and do the editing. Only you can set yourself free. I can only point out the shape of what has you trapped and where to put the key. I can't put the key in and turn it for you. Why? Because you are the key. Because no one else can write down your moments and do this work for you. Just listening to this will not free you. You must turn the key. So write down your moments and do the editing at the end. Without doing the editing and transmuting the energy and the memories, nothing will change for you, and you'll wake up tomorrow the same as you are today. If you do the editing and then give permission for it to spread through all your other memories, you'll likely have flickering dreams for a night or two as that happens, and you'll wake up with a new life possible for you. One that is not controlled subconsciously by a child's fear, and your mind will be incredibly calmer. What percentage of your daily chattering thoughts do you think are based on this attachment and its concerns, and its storyline, and its drama? I've never had a single human answer less than 95%. I'll not even attempt to teach someone to meditate without having done this first. Imagine a mind 95% calmer, more unified and focused, which then begins to meditate. It's best that you have not heard any of this than to hear it and walk away without doing the work of editing. You've been put on notice. Free will. Truly, we can't control external events, yet we spend entire lives trying to do so, under the mistaken assumption that external events have the power to affect us, and that our happiness is dependent on external things and people. Awareness of true power comes to us when we realize that while we cannot truly control external events, we can learn to control our reaction to events. With that realization, external, tangible things can begin to lose their power they never had unless we were tricked into surrendering it in the first place. When we realize that we have power over our reactions to events, happiness becomes a matter of choice. If we are experiencing an emotion, it's really for no other reason but that a part of us wants to experience that emotion and is using that emotional energy to communicate with us, to prod us to seek approval, acceptance, and oneness. Then we're on the path to true mastery. The battles we now wage become those involved with understanding self and the motivation of our inner parts. Not only do we all deserve the compassion of true forgiveness for being so lost, we're going to learn an experiment in the next video which proves that our every single action, however horrible its original expression, actually has a positive motive. Closer and closer to first cause. Anywhere else, and we are the problem. As far as I'm concerned, the battle between good and evil is right here, and its outcome depends on your decision. Or stay just the way you are, and one day you might wake up to find that you're the only person left preventing world peace. The evolution revolution begins with you. World peace begins with you. The kingdom of heaven begins with you. The golden path begins with you.